Well, hey friends, welcome back to the cabin. I'm going to run out here to the sawmill because I've got a little something I want to show you. Well friends, this is the new Badger 16-inch cordless chainsaw. It's actually not too heavy. It's really nice. Like I said, it's got a 16-inch bar on it. What I'm really excited about is it's got the place in the end where you actually grease the bar. Now my Stihl chainsaw doesn't have that. The Husqvarna does, and I actually prefer to have these type right here. That way I can grease the head of it because a lot of friction happens right here where the blade actually rotates. It's got this, like I said, 40-volt battery. Stick it in right there. It's got the brake on it. I'm not going to run it too long because I need to put oil in it, but you just basically pull the trigger and there you go. So that's quite nice to have, and of course you can't do anything with the brake on. That disengages it. A nice safety feature. Also, like my other chainsaw, my Stihl, it's got the two nuts on the side right there. They send you this little wrench, and then the adjustment for the chain is right there in between, so you loosen it up a little bit, adjust your chain. Now, I pre-adjusted this. It's got about a ½ inch of play in it. That's about all you want. But you can adjust that right there and then tighten your but yeah, it's not too heavy in comparison. See, they're about the same length actually. I think the Stihl might be just a little bit heavier than this one right here, but this will be handy because, you know, a lot of times when I put a log on the sawmill, it may have a knot or a limb on it, kind of like this right here, where I may have not got it all sawed off, and when I try to rotate the log on the bunks, if the limb's sticking out any at all, it basically catches. So then I grab my chainsaw, I fire it up, whack it off, or if it's small enough, I just take my hatchet and knock it off. But it does pose a problem with trying to turn the log on the bunk. So this way, I can actually pull out the battery operated one, fire it up, trim it off, and get back, you know, to doing my business. So this is quite nice to have. When they first wrote me, they wanted me to do a comparison between this one and another one that's on the market called the Greenworks. This is also a 16-inch saw that has the hole in the end of it for greasing as well. It is also 40-volt battery here, and it's also got the brake. We won't, like I said, do it too much because we don't have any oil in it. We'll put oil in them here in a minute, but just there you go. I also preset this one to where it's only a ½ inch. Now the difference between these two is this one doesn't require a tool. Use this really to tighten your chain, and then if you want to take this whole thing off, you unscrew it right here. Whether I like that or not, I don't know, because I am so used to using this type right here, but it seems to me like this would hold a lot better than this mechanism right here, because when I actually took this off, it's just got two indentions that stick out kind of like your knuckles, which catches right there, and there's a possibility if I put too much pressure that it might pull off of that. So I think I kind of like the one with the nuts better. That way I've got two, like I said, nuts going through the chain bar to be able to hold that in place so that I can put a lot of pressure on it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get these things filled up with some oil and we'll try them out. Alright, we'll go ahead and fill up the Greenworks since I got it sitting up here. I don't use any fancy chain oil. I just use what is the cheapest. Now we'll fill up the Badger. I'm actually kind of wondering if these are either the same weight or this one might be a little bit heavier than my Stihl. But anyway, I do want to say that before I do anything with the saws, I do want to say that, you know, when you're operating power equipment, you probably want to wear some safety gear. Now, if I'm using the Stihl saw, When I go to the woods and I'm going to spend a lot of time out there, I'll wear a hard hat, especially if I'm felling a tree, some eye protection, ear protection, and some chaps. If I'm just going out there just to cut a limb off or something like that, a lot of times I'll just take my safety glasses and my ear protection, saw it off, and I'll be gone. But yeah, I've got the oil in here now, so let's run over here to the sawmill. I got a couple of logs laying out there, and we'll try them out. So first of all, we'll give the one from Badger a shot here and see how it's going to work. Actually saw through that pretty doggone good. That one works pretty good too, but the first thing that I noticed was this button here on the side is a little bit more difficult to actually hold in and pull that trigger. Alright, I do a lot of cutting wood, felling trees, logging, things like that here around the homestead. This right here is actually a grease gun for a chainsaw. And these holes in the end of the bar there is where you insert the tip and then you push on it and you actually can grease the end of your bar. And you can see that little bit of grease coming out there. Some of it actually came out on my finger too. And then you flip your saw around and then you do it from the other side as well. Now you see a little bit come out the top. Alright, we're going to use the Badger first to cut through here and see what it's going to feel like. About an 8-inch piece of yellow pine. So he did a really good job on that. So how would I rate them as far as performance goes? They're really actually about the same. I think that just by you watching me cut there, I think that this Badger was just a little bit quicker. And honestly, it almost seems like that the RPMs actually stepped up just a little bit at some point in there where they didn't do it on the Greenworks. This pine right here is kind of a moderate to soft wood, so depending on what you would be cutting would determine how long your battery was going to last. I believe that the Badger may have outperformed it just slightly. The difference is, you know, like I said before, I believe the Badger might be a little bit lighter, where the Greenworks does have that tooth on it to be able to catch the wood. Because you saw me rotate the saw forward and then I brought it back. That little bar does help you to do that. But it's not necessary. You don't have to have it. It just makes it easier, where the Badger doesn't have one. It seems like they both operated, you know, really well. The only difference I noticed negatively was the fact that this button right here is not as ergonomic, I guess you would say, as this one right here. It's just positioned easier for your thumb to press on it while you're pulling the trigger. That's just a safety feature that all tools have nowadays. You can't just reach down there and pull the trigger. You have to actually pull two at the same time. So if I was Greenworks, I would probably change that knob there. Now I just noticed this one actually has a hole already in the bottom of it to hang up like on a nail. So I guess you could say maybe that's a little bit handy to have, where this one doesn't have one. Now the other difference, which is primarily in the charging system, which this is the Greenworks. This actually goes on top, and this is the one made by Badger, and it actually goes on the top. So doesn't really make any difference, but that's the difference in the charging system. So what's the difference between the two of them? Well, like I said earlier, I think that the one made by Badger is a little bit lighter. I could actually hold it out there where I can't do the Greenworks like that, so I know it is, yeah, it's much heavier. But they're both 40 volt, they're both 16-inch chainsaws, and they actually do a good job. You've seen how they operated there. But what is the big difference between the two? It's a $100 bill. So I think, you know, for the price, I would much prefer to have this one since it's a little bit lighter, and honestly I think the RPM stepped up a little bit because this one actually seemed to cut faster. But the Greenworks did a good job as well. But it does have this bar right here that I mentioned, but for $100 difference, I don't think that I need it. You know, so if you all have a use for something like this, you know, off-grid here where I don't have a lot of power, this comes in handy if, you know, you go camping, you can take it with you. If you've got a backyard doing some trimming, you know, cutting down saplings, things like that, I believe that it would do you a good job. And you can even buck up firewood with it, but I would think that I would probably need 2 batteries if I was going to cut quite a bit of wood. But yeah, $100 difference. So if y'all are interested, if you need something like this where you're at, check down in the description below the video there. There will be a link to Badger on how that you can add one of these to the tools that you have. Now it's really important in keeping your chains sharp to be able to do a good job, just like your knife. You want to have something sharp because if it's dull, you take a lot bigger chance on getting hurt. So if you're interested in that, click up here in the top right hand corner where I did a video on how I keep my chainsaws sharp here on the Homestead. Folks, thanks for stopping by. We certainly do appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.